awareness, habit stacking, and the secret to self-control. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live. And there you have one of the longest titles ever that I've had here on the show. I wanted to fit it all in there because I'm covering a bunch of random areas from this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. They're not so random. They're all within this one section of the book called The First Law, Make It Obvious. So in the last episode, we talked about how there's 4 different laws, 4 different steps in the loop, in the habit loop. When you're trying to build a habit or trying to break a habit, it's the same 4 steps no matter what. And if you can break apart those steps, you can get rid of a bad habit. If you can build those steps from bottom up, you can create a good habit. And so the first law is make it obvious. So he's got it here, make it obvious. And he's got a handful of chapters going into that. I just wanted to point out some very simple ideas in these they're simple but powerful. One of the things he talks about is that I'll just read it to you. This is a great point. He says this is one of the most surprising insights about our habits. You don't need to be aware of the cue for a habit to begin. So the cue, this is an aside, this is me talking. The cue is that beginning thing. It's the beginning thing that starts you in the process of going into doing your habit. You know, there's something that happens during a certain time of day, or it's seeing something, or it's smelling something that leads you into the process of that habit that you just can't break. He says you don't need to be aware. You can notice an opportunity and take action without dedicating conscious attention to it. This is what makes habits useful, and it's really true, because it's the awareness. It's when it's below your awareness. It's almost subconscious, but it's definitely below your immediate awareness. That's when habits are the most powerful. Good habits and bad habits. Bad habits are even worse, where you're in the middle. You're sitting there smoking and you're like, I don't even remember lighting up. It's like, how did this happen? And I don't smoke, but I know that's how it works, because it works that way with all habits. And you find yourself in or like driving to work. The car kind of gets there on its own, and sometimes you go and you don't remember getting in the car, and you don't remember putting your seatbelt on, you don't remember doing all these things you do every day, and you're there and you're like, wait a second, how did I get here? Your mind can be used somewhere else because your body is in the process of the habit. Your brain's directing it all, but at the same time, that's how habits work, and it's why they're useful. It's also why they can be horribly destructive. But one of the things you really have to do is he talks about a habit scorecard. So if you can just sit back and watch on a daily basis all the different habits that you have, good and bad. And he says a really interesting thing. He says there's no need to change anything at first. The goal is to simply notice what's going on. Observe your thoughts and actions without judgment or internal criticism. Don't blame yourself for your faults. Don't praise yourself for your successes. If you just be aware of your habits, be aware of what's going on, then he gives you ideas of how to go about labeling them and figuring out which ones are good and which ones are bad, and how to go out building better ones as time goes on. The process of behavior change, he says, always starts with awareness. And that's absolutely true. I've seen over and over again, awareness is a powerful thing. That if you do nothing else, if you're looking to lose weight, I want you to do nothing else. Don't change your diet, don't change your exercise, nothing else. You don't have to do anything else consciously except weigh yourself and write it down once a day. Every day in the morning, you weigh yourself, you write down the number. Weigh yourself and write down the number. That simple process creates an awareness about that number, and that number will go in the direction you want it to do. If you're looking to gain weight, you can gain weight. If you're wanting to lose weight, you'll lose weight without even worrying about it. It will automatically start to occur to some extent. You're not obsessing over it. You're just doing it, watching the number. It's the awareness that makes it powerful. It's the awareness and paying attention to how when you're eating, paying really close attention to when you're eating, all of a sudden you'll start making different choices. All of a sudden you won't eat as quickly, you won't eat as much. The awareness is the key there. It's very, very interesting, but absolutely true. Another thing he talks about is habit stacking, which is one of those things that I've done through the years. And he talks about if you have one habit and you stack another habit on top of a habit that's already there, it's easier to get it into play. It like follows along. You end off with one, or you start with one, and the cue, it leads to the next cue, and it builds on itself. I found this early on when I was living on my own, and I would forget to shave, or I wouldn't want to shave, because if I waited too long to shave and my face was too dry, I'd cut myself. It was just it was a number of things. I had skin issues and everything else when I was younger, and I found that I always got a good shave if I was right out of the shower. And I said, well, what if I was in the shower? Could I do it then? So I took a little mirror with me in the shower, and I started shaving myself in the shower. And all of a sudden I had no issues being shaved. And also I shaved every day because it was connected to the habit of taking the shower every day. And honestly, I started later on, I knew somebody that was brushing their teeth in the shower. So I started brushing my teeth in the shower. All of a sudden, I never forgot to brush my teeth. I at least brush my teeth once a day because I was doing it in the shower, along with that process of habits that are already there. It's the habit stacking is a very, very powerful tool, and he spends some time talking about that. The final thing that he discusses that I think is just really great is the idea of self-control, the concept of discipline and self-control. And so many of us get caught up with that idea. And like I've mentioned before, that even the word discipline just kind of, it bothers me. It seems like an over the top word. It seems like you're forcing something or whatever else. And self-control has been tied to the word discipline on a lot of levels. But he says it doesn't have to require this enormous willpower. He says heroic willpower and self-control. In other words, you can disciplined people spend time in less tempting situations. So anything that leads into bad habits, a person who's called disciplined is a person that just stays out of those situations. Change your environment is his main key. Change your environment, and you can do away with good habits and do away with bad habits and encourage good habits. It's an environmental situation. So that's pretty cool. I really, really like that part. All about the cue is one of the most important parts because it's what starts off every situation that when you're building a habit. So it's a great section of the book. Definitely want to check out Atomic Habits. I don't get paid anything for it. It's a fabulous book. So I'm spending some episodes talking about it. So hopefully you found that enjoyable. You could also check out my book, 9 Ways to Amazon-Proof Your Business. I am a business investor. So this is my concepts on how to go about making yourself competition-proof. You get a free copy at AmazonProofBook.com. AmazonProofBook.com. That's all I have for today. You have a good one. We'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and let the magic happen.